Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're popping the hood on some truly fascinating data. We are going to look closely at three highly competitive, globally recognized Asian educational systems. If you've ever wondered exactly how different countries engineer academic success and shape the minds of their future generations, well, you are in exactly the right place.
It all really comes down to this one central question. What actually makes the perfect education system? It's literally the million-dollar puzzle researchers have been trying to solve for decades. Today, we're putting Singapore, South Korea, and India under the microscope. Because while they all share this deeply rooted cultural appreciation for academic rigor, their blueprints for actually achieving that success, they are completely different.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with our Asian education powerhouses, then look at Singapore's mastery over memorization, South Korea's culture of intensity, and the Indian reality. Finally, we'll talk about exchanging educational playbooks to build the ultimate hybrid model. Okay, let's dive right into this first one. Singapore, mastery over memorization.
You know, Singapore's entire guiding philosophy boils down to this incredibly catchy phrase, teach less, learn more. It sounds totally counterintuitive, right? But it works. They deliberately reduce their curriculum load so students can focus on concept mastery, complex problem solving, and the actual application of knowledge. Juxtapose that with India's traditional approach. The curriculum there is often incredibly broad and content-heavy. So Singapore prioritizes extreme depth, while India has historically prioritized massive breadth.
To truly get what I mean by depth, we just have to look at their most famous export, Singapore math. This methodology isn't about speed-running flashcards. It's entirely built on deep conceptual understanding, relying heavily on visual models and careful step-by-step reasoning. Instead of just memorizing a formula to calculate an answer quickly, Singapore math demands that students learn exactly why a concept works so they can apply it in real, unscripted situations.
So how do they actually pull this off? Well, it rests on three huge pillars. First up, intensive professional training. In Singapore, teaching is a highly prestigious, fiercely sought-after profession, and it's backed by continuous upskilling and serious government-supported mentoring. Second, their exams are increasingly competency-based. They aren't just testing memory anymore, they're testing analysis, application, and higher-order thinking. Basically, they're testing what a student can actually do with the information, not just what they can repeat on a page. All right, shifting gears to Section 3, South Korea's culture of intensity. This is a system built on extreme structure.
Look, you literally cannot understand the South Korean education system without talking about the Hagwon. These are private educational academies. Picture this. Kids do a full, long day of regular school, and then they transition straight into these Hagwons, often studying late into the night. It is a defining cultural phenomenon driven by sky-high societal expectations around getting into a top university. It's an ecosystem of just unrelenting academic drive.
And South Korea backs up on that intensity with universally highly digitized classrooms. They have incredibly fast educational tech adoption, smart systems, and the internet infrastructure to support it nationwide. Now, India obviously has its own intense coaching culture too. Just think of the grueling preparation for the IIT-JEE, NEET, or UPSC exams. But while India is rapidly improving its digital footprint with platforms like Diksha, the implementation varies wildly between regions. South Korea's system, on the other hand, is a unified, systematic national standard.
That variation brings us perfectly to Section 4, the Indian reality, exploring a truly vast systemic landscape.
When we analyze India, we really have to zoom out and look at the whole picture. The truth is, India possesses undeniably brilliant students, incredibly talented teachers, and this profoundly strong intellectual culture. But the challenges they face are uniquely staggering. The sheer immense scale of the population, combined with massive inequality in resources, creates an environment of intense exam pressure. And historically, there's been a heavy reliance on rote learning just to manage the volume of material. Every academic win is a seriously hard-won triumph over massive systemic friction. But here is the fascinating part. Because of these challenges, the results India produces are highly unique. Indian students build incredible resilience because they literally have to learn and succeed under such demanding conditions. The result? The world gets these hyper-adaptable learners, fiercely competitive thinkers, strong analytical professionals, and a pipeline of remarkable global STEM talent. They are trained to navigate complex, imperfect systems, which, let's be honest, is a massive advantage in the real world.
Now, what's really interesting about this next slide is what happens when we start exchanging educational playbooks.
Let's put these systems head to head. In Singapore and South Korea, curriculums are focused, teaching targets concept application, teacher development is highly structured, and technology is systematically integrated. Then you look at India. Curriculums are historically overloaded, teaching is more content-driven, and technology access varies widely. You can clearly see the systematic optimization happening in East Asia compared to India's transitioning, massive-scale reality.
So looking at the data, what could India actually adapt from its Asian peers? Well, from Singapore, it's all about concept-based learning, deliberately reducing that curriculum load to allow for depth and implementing stronger government-supported mentoring for its excellent teachers. And from South Korea, the playbook is systematic implementation, taking that strong academic discipline and ensuring that when a digital tool or new standard is introduced, it is uniformly integrated across the board.
Let's see how this all builds into our final concept in Section 6, the ultimate hybrid model. This represents the ideal future. Think of it as a best of both worlds model, or really, all three. Imagine an education system made of 3 equal slices. You take India's incredible resilience and intellectual rigor. You blend that with Singapore's focus on deep concept mastery and structured pedagogy. And finally, you lock the whole thing in place with South Korea's remarkable consistency and fully integrated technology.
If you combine those forces, the source material argues you achieve one ultimate goal: high achievement with human-centered learning. It's basically an unparalleled educational standard. It marries the sheer grit of India with the precision of Singapore and the technological infrastructure of Korea. It pushes for absolute excellence, but perfectly respects a student's need to truly understand the world, rather than just memorize it for a test.
Which leaves us with one final thought to ponder today. Whether you are a student, a parent, an educator, or just a lifelong learner, how can your own learning environment adapt these global lessons? Could you focus a bit more on mastery like Singapore, utilize tech like Korea, or maybe foster that relentless resilience like India? I really hope this explainer has given you a fresh lens on how we learn. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I look forward to diving into our next topic with you soon.